All right.
Hey.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. This is Amy, and here's Julianne Victoria on my left or right, depending on which side you're seeing. We are in our fourth installment and last installment for the Minor Arcana. And if you have not been following, thank you. If you have not been following, we have been going through the Minor Arcana elementally. I believe we started off with the cups. I think it was swords, something like that. Or swords first and then cups, then pentacles.
Yes.
And now we're working on the wands. And I was talking to Julianne about this, and I wanted to do this to kind of fit with the seasons, because wands, as we know, is fire energy. It's initiating, it's fresh starts, it's all that excitement. And we experienced that about a week ago when we went to the spring equinox in Ostara. So it's like, let's do wands. Let's just go ahead and get stuff going and talking about this particular deck, Tarot of the Holy Light. And Julianne will be giving her perspective from an astrological point of view, but also her feelings when it came to looking at the deck outside of astrology. And I will be doing the same, but more, I'm taking this deck more from a spiritual perspective, because there's just so much to pick up in this deck. And I feel a lot of people who see this deck, they get put off, they get a little scared from it. And you just have to ease into it. And there's plenty of messages to hold in each card. And in the time that Julianne Victoria and I have been working on this deck, we've been having some interesting experiences. We've been seeing, at least with me, I've been seeing how this deck has been, it's been allowing me to go more in depth with my practice, to read things that we normally don't see in the little white book or in traditional guidebooks. This deck is esoteric. It also brings in elements of Hermeticism. It talks about the tree of life and the influential patterns of the signs and the planets. It is a chock full of information, but it is a wonderful deck, and I am proud to have this deck in my collection and to study and to work with it. So that's my background and connection to this deck, and why I'm exploring this. And I'm happy that Julianne Victoria found a similar interest and curiosity about this deck.
Yeah, so if you haven't watched the others, Amy made me get this deck, sort of. It had been on my wish list, and was it last August? We were talking about it, and I thought, oh, maybe I'll get it now. And I got it, and I was like, oh, the astrology is different with this deck. Whoa, wait. So we started talking about it, and we decided to start this. We're basically studying it together, learning it together. Amy's using it more regularly, like in her deck and videos and stuff. I'm just using it for study right now, but it has opened up the astrological associations with especially the minor arcana of the tarot for me in a way I've not looked at before. And even though I've been an astrologer as long as I've been a tarot reader for 5 years, something like 25 years.
Amazing.
I kind of like just sort of set aside the astrological associations with the minor arcana. I'm just like, well, you don't need that to work with tarot. But this is sort of bringing it all together in a way I never thought of before. So it's quite fascinating. I'm really loving it. And this is a packed deck. So this is the book, Tarot of the Holy Light.
With your chest. That's amazing.
There is a second book that dives deeper into the foundations of esoteric traditions connected with the deck, but this is not needed as a guidebook for the deck, but I decided to get both since I was going to purchase all this stuff all at once. So it's a packed deck. It's full of all sort of esotericism, and even includes the Shem angel associations. It's quite deep, which I love. We're mostly going to talk about the astrology associated, the imagery, what we what we get from the images, how we feel about the cards, and so on. But there are all those other layers if you're interested in a deck that will dive deep, super deep. And so just a review of the deck-in correspondences for those who didn't watch the first one. The first one, which I think it was our swords, and we're just doing 8 through 10 so far. We'll get to the courts and majors next.
Yeah.
I go deeper into that, so I just want to do a quick review. So most people, if they have like a Thoth deck, well, it's not shown on RWS, but RWS or Thoth deck, one's based on the more common traditions of tarot, will be familiar with these decan associations. Let's see myself. This deck does not follow those. This deck follows the elemental decan associations. So the decan rulers, so each astrological sign has 30 degrees. It's broken down into 3 decans of 10 degrees each. And so let's say Aries. Aries is a fire sign. So each of the decans will be ruled by the fire, the fire sign. So Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, and their rulers, Mars, Sun, and Jupiter, will be the rulers of the decans in all the fire signs. Okay. New summary, and there's a chart. I found this online a while ago. I've had people say they've searched for it and can't find it, and then I'd Google search and I can't find it. So I don't know if it was taken down or it's just other ones came in, and so you have to keep looking through the search to find it. But there are different, doesn't have to be those exact charts, but there are decan charts and elemental correspondence decan charts that you can find out there. Okay, little summary there. But check out the swords video or the first one. I have a full playlist on my channel with all of them in it.
Yeah.
If people want to check that out, I don't know if you've set up a playlist or not.
I did, so people have reference and they can go and take a look.
Our channels, which are our names.
Right.
Yeah, you can scroll below this video. Okay. Okay, so we're doing the wands.
Can I throw in something?
Yes.
Before we get started? There's one thing that I found that was interesting, and you hit upon it. The planet placements and the signs in this deck are going to be different from the Golden Dawn system. It's going to be different with another deck, the Unified Esoteric Tarot that I work with. The planet placements are going to be different. So if you find a deck and you listen to people like me and Julianne Victoria and some other people that say, well, how come the planet's different in this sign and it's Golden Dawn is set for this sign? When these decks were created, Christine Payne Towler spent lots of time, lots of research. There you go. Looking into this, and this is her interpretation. So when you find decks that have different planetary associations with their signs, find which ones connect with you. I have 3 decks, and they all suit different purposes in relation to the planets and the signs. So you can make it work whichever way you can. Even with my Moon Oracle deck, the planet placements and the signs for that are different, but it works with the moon mansions, and I know that's a different system in itself. So I just want to point that out, because if people read this, or when people read this and they come across some information, it's like, well, how come it's Mars in Libra and it should be Venus in Libra? It's just the interpretation based on the creator.
Yeah, so you'll find different so I'm going to summarize what you said. You'll find different astrological correspondences to different, so there's the RWS Thoth system. And then some creators, like, Tarot of the Holy Light, and then there's some other decks out there, will have different astrological associations. So if you might be like, oh, well, this deck says this, and this deck says this for the Two of Wands, why is that different? And it's just different correspondences and associations determined by the creator. But they'll usually explain it. It will make sense why they choose it. It's not like random, like, oh, we'll just throw this on here. No, there's a system. There's astrology is a system. It's systematic, but it may be someone else's system or a different creator system.
Correct. And
So
some
this
people may
creator system.
Yeah, I mean, some
Yeah.
people may use the traditional planet rulership instead of the more modern one. So, like instead of maybe instead of Pluto, they use Mars, or they
Yes.
use one of the original systems or
Yes.
original planets of rulership.
So an example, you used Mars. So in traditional astrology, Mars rules Aries and Scorpio, but in modern astrology, Pluto rules Scorpio. So that's where you might find a difference.
Yeah. And it works. You see, there is the relationship between the two, but let's not deviate too much. Let's jump right into the wands.
I might go off on a long, big. far away.
We're gonna go as probably maximum hour and a half, 2 hours with this, but let's just get started.
Okay.
Where would you like to start? Do you want to talk about the overview of the wands and what we get from it, and then
I'm going to reference the book, and so you can see all the associations on the on screen. On the top of the pages there. Yeah. Again, we're not going to focus on the Kabbalah or the Shem angels. We're focusing on the astrology and the tarot of the tarot, if that makes sense. So we're starting with the Ace of Wands. And
do you want me to hold it, Julianne?
Oh yeah, that would be
great. Yeah. There we go.
So the Ace of Wands, the decan association is the first decan of Aries, so 1 to 10 degrees or 0 to 10 degrees, however way you want to phrase that. And the first decan of each sign is ruled by that sign's ruler. So the ruler is Mars for Aries and Mars for the first decan of Aries. And then it has the astrological dignities or essential dignity. So in the upright, so Ace of Wands upright, its upright domicile is Mars in Aries because it's the ace. And the reversed is Mars in Scorpio, and Scorpio is the other sign that Mars rules. So the Ace of Wands energy is like the purest of the fire of Mars of Aries. It's intense fire. And you can see in the image there, there's that burst of flame behind the sprout, right? Aces are often referred to as, seeds sprouting, new beginning energy. It's like the pure essence of Mars and Aries, but specifically Aries, right? The first sign of the zodiac, the beginning. It's a cardinal sign. Cardinal signs are initiatory, and this is the initiatory of the initiatory signs. So it's all fire, all burst of explosion and growth, and you can even say creativity, because Wands is a very creative suit. It's that fire of inspiration and growth. Yeah. Going through the book, I did mark, we're going to talk about, this is our study.
I marked a lot.
I dog-eared a couple things. My first dog-ear here is, this ace, more than any other, has the connotation of starting with a blank slate in the sense of emerging from one's own center, unconditioned by any prior limiting influence, which is the Aries energy. It's the first, right? Yeah. The best place to seek and cultivate this kind of utterly fresh ground is at the fringes of one's own imagination, in that utterly trackless realm where no outsiders ever tread. It's like, pure creativity and inspiration from within yourself. Yeah. It's just, I can't explain it any better. It's like, that pure Aries Martian energy.
It's interesting because, I mean, some of the stuff that I wrote here, it also talks, yes, it's a liberation of energy. We're getting things moving. The wands is almost throughout, from the ace to the 10, it's almost self-explanatory. Just the basis, the overall meaning of wands in this book. But what goes deeper, the way Christine Payne Towler goes into it, I have here, Julianne Victoria and I will be reading quotes from this book because it is so full of information. One thing I like here is wands will challenge our willingness to work hard, sweat in the sun, struggle against great odds, Courage and initiative are blessings that the wands bestow to those who are not afraid to assert themselves when the proper time arises. You learn, and I'm in a similar situation with that paragraph right now. I had to face a challenge, trying to make things work the best possible, and I was able to pull through it. You know, it's not, wands is not a time of just like backing down. It's a time to take that opportunity. That's the other thing with the ace. The ace is the opportunity. Throughout all of the suits, they're giving you that opportunity to start with the wands fresh, with cups, new emotions, swords, new ways of seeing things, perspectives, earths, or pentacles, laying a new foundation for a project, something that you really put your heart and soul into. And so I really like the influence that this card has, because one thing I didn't really pay attention to before is that wands energy is influencing hard work. We see that more with the influence of pentacles. We think of hard work in that respect. Pentacles has hard work, but the wands is that energy. It's that drive to actually make it happen. And with Aries, nothing's going to stop an Aries from doing what they believe and what they feel. Other people may see otherwise, but this is I like this suit because I have a little bit of fire in my chart, and also just in my characteristics. I love movement. Stagnicity is not good. And we have the reverse is Mars and Scorpio. I know we're jumping ahead.
Yeah.
But
well, let me one thing before we go to the reverse.
Yeah.
Like, I love how the hand here is really like grasping. Can I do this? Grasping the sprout rather than like presenting it, like in, because I'm like RW. That's here. Rather than presenting it, it's grasping it. It's like seize the day, seize this inspiration, this burst of energy, whatever it is, and seize it, grab it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just sitting there, you know. And in this deck, it's not like it's being presented. It comes from within. So you see that, you grab it, and it will grow.
Yeah, totally agree. It's just, again, it's that opportunity. If you let it go, you know, you're going to miss something that's right there in front of you. And I think another thing too here is, I'm going to read something else. When the Ace of Wands appears, the divine will, the divine will, we each and every one of us has our own will. The will is the drive to do something, what inspires you to move. So the divine will is requesting that a new part of the self should bud and grow forth in response to the current circumstances. That's another way of, Christine Payne Towler has a way of explaining something philosophically, and that, but you can read it, and right there, it's just like, this is what she means. It's just basically taking that opportunity, grow with it at that time, and make it work. Don't bow down. Don't be hindered by it. Also, another thing here is the Ace of Wands in this book is referred to as the significance of completeness. It's the totality gathered here as one. And so it's all that force. It's the earth, fire, water, air, all into one. And you're that makes the spirit. And so you're using that to move forward, to drive ahead.
I like what she says, like at the end of this section. It's sort of summarizing both the upright and reversed. There are times when we are not literally free to act unhindered in the world. At those times, the will is still free to focus desire, make plans, clear obstacles, and empower inner change. Be careful that you don't succumb to spring fever and accidentally squander this wonderful blast of life force in trivialities, which can be like the Mars and Scorpio, the reversed energy. Dedicate this new motivation and energy to projects that will get you started in a fresh direction.
Yes.
Again, that's where seize the opportunity. Yeah. Don't waste it. The fire will burn out if you leave it alone. So keep fueling it. right?
It's almost like, and we'll get to this card later on, it's like the Eight of Wands. You know, it's all of this that's going on at once. How are you going to manifest all this energy? We're jumping ahead a little bit, or I'm jumping ahead, but it's just how to use all this energy that's coming at you, and knowing how to work with it. There's one other thing here: reevaluate intent before taking action.
I'll hold it up.
It's like really seeing, it's almost planning, because that's part of Aries, and also the Emperor card in a sense. You're really looking, because the Emperor is the leader, who is with Aries. They're taking charge. They are the leader, and they've been given an opportunity to take charge of a situation. So they want to be careful with their actions. They plan. They look at their sources, what's there. Thank you, Julianne. They look at their sources and they see what's there and how to work with those tools, the influence that they're in, their environment, and how to benefit it. And then when they see what's there, then they know how to go and take action. That's why they're the warrior. That's why they're more aggressive. Once they find it and it clicks, they go right to it. You know, they feel it. It's that will. It's like, you know what? I got this. I got my team. And I think, and they almost strategically plan their energy out in a way. And once they have, it's like, okay, let's go. Do it, right. do it. And then we go into the 2, 3, 4, and 5 months.
And that fire just grows and grows and grows.
Oh, yeah.
A healthy fire, not destructive. Well, I guess reversal would be destructive, right? Self-destructive.
But it's Mars in Scorpio, right? And so we can see.
Because that's fire and water.
Correct.
So yeah, you get that water like nice and warm and supportive, right?
Yes.
Or the water burns out the fire, or the fire boils the water away. So you have to find that balance.
But I feel with Mars and Scorpio, I understand here it's reverse. And I know we talked about this off record, how to actually work with opposing energies when it's in a reverse situation. So I'm the troubleshooter here for something like this. It's like, how would Mars and Scorpio work their energies out?
I just like had a thought, like that would be like something simmering.
Okay.
Right? You keep something warm, keep water warm on the stovetop with a little bit of fire. It needs to simmer a little bit before it's ready. So you could see that sort of like how reversals can mean delays, right?
Correct, yes.
Like it could just be like, okay, this is great. But some things you can't take action on quite right away. Just let it simmer.
Yeah.
And then see how it grows.
Okay. That works.
Way to look at it.
Yeah. You have to compromise.
The reversal could be, like, well, that seed hasn't sprouted yet, so you need to take care of it. You need to water it, give it sunshine. There's the fire, there's the water. And then when the time is right, it'll sprout.
Correct. Yes. Reversals are that sign of taking that, it's a momentary pause. It's not a long pause. It's not like a permanent pause. When something's reversed, it's just that sign of saying, just stop a minute, kind of look at what you've been doing, your actions or what's happening, and reassess and see what can be done. If you don't reassess, if you don't see any of that stuff, you get stuck. And so the reversals are just, they can be warning signs, but they're just like little flags, like, hey, just pay attention. Just pay attention. Be aware.
I've been meaning to make a video on reversals. So
okay.
There's so much you could say, but that would be a video. Okay, so let's move on to the 2 of Wands.
You got it.
So we have our 2 of Wands. Oh, you hold it up. So the 2 of Wands, the astrology. So we're still in Aries. So should do this. 1, 2s, and 3s. Ace 2 and 3 are Aries, and then we'll go 3, 4, and 5 will be Leo. 5, 6, 7, or 4, 5, and 6, and then 7, 8, and 9 Sagittarius, and 10s, where say in the Thoth deck, the aces are the general elemental energy. The 10s in this deck have that. So I just want to explain that. So 2 of Wands, the astrology is the second decan of Aries, ruled by the sun, because Leo's the next fire sign and its ruler is the sun. And the essential dignities, astrological dignities, the upright complement is Mars in Taurus. And that's because Taurus is the sign opposite of Scorpio, which Mars rules. And the reverse detriment is Mars in Libra, because Libra is the sign opposite Aries, which Mars rules. And interestingly, both Taurus and Libra are ruled by Venus. So there's this, it's a 2, which is the, the couple, the masculine, feminine coming together, the polarity, the duality coming together. So it's very interesting how she has set that up. And so that those complements, they can be seen as opposing energies, but they can also complement each other, which is quite fascinating. One thing I marked here, so the author writes, if we think like mystics while viewing this image, we will realize that both the light and its attendant fulmination are natural consequences of the same process. Mm-hmm. Neither manifestation is better or more virtuous than the other. As a matter of fact, the radiant brightness illuminates the smoke and ash for what they are. Visual evidence of rapidly accelerating energy ripping through the settled order, imposing transformation at a pace that compresses time and escalates old forms into breakdown mode. So it's like pow, like like the image shows, it's like
it's an explosion
of fire or wands energy of creative growth. And so if we look at numerology, we have the 1 and then we have the 2, and then the 2 come together. You can say the egg and the sperm come together. And when they do, there is an electrical spark, like this card. And then we get the 3, right? You get the child, you get the creative growth. So it's just like, like it's coming together. There's one other thing I marked. Well, she talks a lot about projects and goals throughout this suit. So very fitting because I have a lot of projects going on, creative projects going on, and it's like it's heating up, it's amping up. So Amy and I both talked about this, where like whatever suit we're doing like really reflects where we are in life. It's also has reflected what's been going on in the world or nationally. But she talks about like, try to remember that if your project or goal were easy, everybody would already be doing it. And I marked that because that was a very personal message right there. Because sometimes I hold myself back by thinking, oh, did someone else already do this? What can I offer that's different? And obviously like my own perspective and my own views, but like I get those moments of like, is this any better than what's already out there? Right. So those self-doubt questions, or what's the term? Imposter syndrome? Maybe not quite like that, but I think, is what I have to offer like any
good
better
enough.
Worth it or good enough? Or, so that really like hit home as I read it. And I was like, okay, yeah, it is, it's true. Like, this is supposed to be hard. This is supposed to be difficult. It's supposed to be challenging. I'm fired up for it. I have the energy. I'm bringing things together. I'm going to,
make it work.
Like fertilizing electrical burst going on. And then just
I
to
like
continue,
that.
this feeling of facing an uphill battle is appropriate. It is correct to be stirring up the status quo and setting loose, unpredictable consequences. So that just, because another thing with my own creative things, it's like, there's the doubt side, but there's the part of me that's like, well, I don't want to create what is already out there. It has to be different. It has to be like against the status quo. It has to be unique in some way, because I have a lot of Uranus is conjoined my MC. I have to like put stuff out there that do what everyone else does. Yeah. And so just reading that, and it was like affirmation right away. And it's like, yeah, this is the creative burst, this creative fire. Very excited. The sun, which is, I'm a Leo sun in Western astrology. So the sun here is ruling this decan. It's Aries season. So this is like right where I am right now. Actually, the suit, like really fitting. But I read that and I was like, okay, that's my affirmation. You know, I didn't even have to shuffle the deck and pull a card. It just it did it for me. So yeah.
Yeah, I think when you read the book, when you explore this deck, you need to get the book, because if you're looking at this deck, you can try and give your own interpretations. But this is the thing with Julianne Victoria and I. When we got to the book, there's more into it. You know, it's like there's like these little messages that actually can relate to each and every person who reads this book.
Yeah,
you
and
know.
when I first got the deck and I looked at it, I was like, oh, it's a lot of like, you know, cool old astrological, really well done collage work here. You can't even tell. You could think they were all just painted, drawn, painted as they are. And I thought, oh, okay, it's just a lot of astrology symbols. But then you read the book and it's like, whoa, and many decks are like this, but this one just feels like it's so much more. Every little, which I like, because that's kind of how I create things. And I know most, like, my details are, it's occult. Like, people have to figure it out. I don't put it right out there. But yeah, it's more than just a lot of cool old medieval astrological art together. It's a work of art on its own. Completely.
Yeah, this Christine did
knowledge art.
Yeah, Christine didn't create this deck after decades just for pretty pictures, you know, or not. They're not pretty, just like intriguing images, which actually is part of the process when you're reading the tarot. Because anyone who looks for decks, they're looking for that imagery connection. For me, I tend to work more with the energy, and I discussed this in a video that I have to redo. But anyhow, I feel things. So the images can be interesting. That's part of the process. And what's interesting here, I'm pointing at the card, is that it's like here, one thing that Christine points out is, and you wouldn't read this when you look at the card, what I'm about to say, you don't really see that. But when you look at the imagery and it's more the energy of this card, she talks about the healing of opposites, the healing of anger, wrath. That
would be sad.
Yeah, but here she's using, what's interesting, Julianne Victoria, is that she's using the energy of the sun, how it can be actually in a positive way and also in a negative way. So too much of that sun energy, especially with Aries, can be aggravating, and it could cause frustration and anger, and just you don't want to react. You're resistant to things because you just don't know what to do. But on the opposite side, this is what I've been getting with this chapter: is the sun. It's like the balance of good and evil, love versus hate. Which is just perfect.
Mars and Venus, right? Mars and Venus energy. I mean, a good analogy is like, okay, you go out in the sun. It's really good for our health. We produce vitamin D, but you get too much and you're sunburned and you're irritated. And if it's really bad, you blister up and you're miserable. And it's like, it's the balance. It is the balance. It's definitely the balance.
Yeah. She points out here, I think you already read it. You already read from it.
We do that a lot. We mark similar spots.
The sun watches this. Tell me if you said this already. The sun watches over the process, and the supplies of energy return to turn wrath into love. I think that's beautiful. Yeah. Those who have the awareness to separate the light from its myriad effects will be much better able to handle the extremes without losing their faith or their drive. That rocks. I mean, that's just.
So it's really just being able to harness your fire, your creativity, your excitement, your energy without burning it out or blowing it up. And producing things. So then, well,
when that's where Mars and Libra.
Producing things.
Wouldn't that where Mars and Libra would come in, even though it's the reverse? Would you say, from your perspective, Mars and Libra is trying to create that balance? But we also have Mars and Taurus.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
I
well,
don't know.
Mars would be more focused on creativity and production, right?
Mhm.
Excuse me. And Libra, well, it depends, because Libra, it's the scales, but is it
Correct.
balanced or is it don't? And so the reverse could be like really trying to find that point of balance in the middle.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the point. So it can be, the reversal doesn't have to be out of balance, but it could be a sign, like, you know, say you pull this card, that you need to find that balance in the middle, or you're starting to like tilt the scales too
Got
much.
it. Yeah.
And it could just be like, hey, make sure things are in check and in balance. Maybe you need to take a break from the fire. You know, or Mars and Venus are having an argument that day, you know. So, yeah, it's like getting back to, you know, this could be, the sun would be the still point, right? Getting back to that balance.
Because that's the focal point of this card. It's the sun and where its influences are the strongest, and how that influence can actually weaken the situation. The sun's always good, but you know, when you get the sun in the major arcana, it does have a reverse meaning as well. And so we have to see, and in this deck, you know, the positives and the negatives, and how they can work together, or they work against each other.
Comparison, like that energy is not so, I can't see.
It's static though.
In this one.
Yeah, it's very stationary, you know, not static.
In the RWS deck, I mean, it's, you know, he's obviously choosing one of the two. It is more focused on the choice rather than the balance of the two, though you get that balance with, you know, the rose and lilies together here, but he's making a choice. So it doesn't have that energy of this card.
Yeah.
It's wands, it's fire, but it's very still. It's
it is. Yeah.
And this is like pow, you know, like.
Remember what I was saying to you, Julianne Victoria? I was saying about inactive action. That's what that Two of Wands in the RWS is doing.
Yeah. He's doing something, but he's not physically moving at the moment.
Yeah.
He's doing stuff in his mind, like, okay, what do I do? Okay.
Correct.
This wand of inspiration or idea or whatever, and go with it.
Yeah. It's that kind of energy, mental energy.
Now, where am I going to go with it? You know?
Yeah. What's the next step? And we're going to see that in the next card. Did you want to touch on anything else for the Two of Wands?
No, I'm good.
Let me see here. I highlighted so much, but let me look here really quickly. I think this falls. Okay, she has here, by engaging the doubters. Yes, this is a nice quote too. By engaging the doubters in the process as problems are identified and solved, all the participants have their perspective enlarged and their confidence bolstered. So basically, you're trying to convince people who may be second guessing your actions and whatnot, and you're trying to entice them in such a way that by putting that trust in what you're going to do, they will start seeing what you're doing at a greater perspective. I have to read what's written in this book very slowly. It's not like I'm talking slow on purpose, but it's just that there's a lot of words, and I don't want to read it fast. Yeah,
it's wordy. It definitely is.
I don't want to read it fast.
Yeah. One last thing I want to point out is the sun is exalted in Aries. And I was going to say, like, the energy of this card is very dynamic. It's very optimistic. You know, that's that sun in Aries energy. Like, yeah, I can do this. And you were talking about the, you know, naysayers. And it's like, whatever, I can do this. I'll convince everyone it's a great idea, and we're going to make it happen. You know, it's that type of energy.
It's almost similar to Aquarius in the sense that, you know, here's this person who has these out of the ordinary ideas, and people are like, you're out of your mind. This isn't going to work. And they do it, and then they surprise the person, you know, or they surprise the group of people. It's like, wow, that is brilliant. you know, and we see this, you know, we see people, public figures that are talking about things, you know, especially politicians, you know, it's like, yeah. And then we have to see what they're going to do. And sometimes there are
more convincing. This is like,
yes, you're right.
I like a step up. This is the guy who like convinces a bunch of people to give him $1,000 each so he can actually do the thing he hasn't done. Yeah.
This is a card. The sun is a card. I'm happy you said that. The sun is also a card that you could put trust in the person. Mm-hmm. So that's a good indicator for the Two of Wands in this deck is the sun is powerful. You know, it's providing energy, and it's where that energy is going to, how you're going to utilize it. And especially if you have sun in Aries, that's a good start as well.
Okay, let's move on.
Alrighty.
Almost 40 minutes. Oh my gosh. Okay. Three of Wands.
Where's
so
three?
The third decan of Aries, ruled by Jupiter, because Jupiter rules Sagittarius, the third fire sign from Aries. The essential dignity. So the upright exaltation is Mars in Capricorn. That's Mars's exaltation. The reversed fall or debilitation is Mars in Cancer, which is Mars's debilitation in astrology. So where am I? I missed my card. So Three of Wands. I'll hold it up.
I'm looking for my Three of Wands. I'm sorry. I'll find it.
So I just want to read this section to start. The feeling of empowerment this card represents points to a strong internal mechanism of self-healing and motivation, which is interesting because it's a 3, and the third house in astrology is the house of self-motivation. This wand of power, this wand, where was I? This wand of power can also refer to the courage it takes to be an entrepreneur or an inventor, an inherently magical process that brings not only opportunity for success, you know, that Jupiter success energy, but also an opening to new worlds of experience. So again, 3 is like, you have the 2 come together, and then the 3 is like things start creating, things open up. The RWS is like, the world opens up out there. But again, like the Tarot of the Holy Light card, I guess we're both holding one up. I can point to it. Wait, this side. The Tarot of the Holy Light card. Again, it's wands, but it's more energized. Whereas like in RWS, the guy's still standing there. Things have opened up, but now what? And here it's like, no, you feel the power. You feel you can do this. You're going to take action. We have the 3-headed snake, which I love.
I love that too. I think
it's like an Ouroboros, but not quite. But that it's amplifying the 3 when Jupiter's expansive energy, and from the 3, everything grows and expands. And that's another thing I marked here. Of course, the danger for Mars in exaltation is that his head might swell if he begins to believe his sponsor's rhetoric, which, you know, exaltation is often thought of as like all good, but it can be too much as well. He might forget that he is not the spring itself, but only its representative, like the cock that crows at dawn. The promise implied by Mars's fire has not yet been solidified in manifestation, but the light of hope in the future's potential and the shining vision of inspiration that Mars arouses keeps the Capricorn natives from bogging down in the moment's limitations. So Mars and Capricorn. And we talked about this, how like bringing in like Mars energy and Capricorn, which is Saturn energy, and how if those are working together, it's like sustained commitment, sustained energy. It's like Mars, the soldier, becomes like, soldiers, sometimes they build like forts in a day, that kind of work. Like, okay, we're setting up camp. We need to build a rampart. We need to build a tower, and we got to do all this by tomorrow as the enemy is coming. And they build this whole like fortress really quick because they put the hard work of Capricorn together with the energy of Mars. Yeah. So.
Can I ask you something, Julianne? Yeah, did you mention, just a quick side note, did you mention that you know Latin?
Yes.
Is that not Latin that's on the banner?
on the
banner of the
There's
card.
Latin in lots of the cards. So virtus unita fortior. So virtue. So fortior is to make stronger. So virtue or unity makes us stronger. I would change the word order.
You would, okay.
Or yeah, virtue strengthens in unity like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's a good.
Yeah, getting all the soldiers together.
Yeah.
Cooperation. Well, this is, threes are numbers of cooperation. Cooperation, COM words. Cooperation, community, communication as well.
Yeah.
Coming together, we're greater stronger as a whole, braver as a stronger as a whole. Yeah. And you can create more, bring in that Capricorn energy, Mars and Capricorn, and you can really produce a lot of stuff, whatever it is. Yeah.
It's teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. It's teamwork, supportive action, seeing the effort and discipline that this group, these team of people are coming together to. They're also working towards a common goal. So everyone who is in this, involved in the Three of Wands, they're in a way following that energy of the fire, of the Aries, of the leader. This person, we're moving from the Two of Wands to the Three of Wands. This person has, when we saw the RWS, we just saw one person standing there. Another perspective to take with the Two of Wands, just to sidetrack, is he's already sent the team out. He's already sent everyone out, and he's watching it from a distance. He or she is watching it from a distance. So this person has already put that energy out, sent their workers, sent their supporters, told the supporters what was needed to do and to carry on. And the supporters will come back to the follower or to the leader and get guidance from that person. It's also hope and inspiration. And that's something that I feel is Aries' underlying issues, because Aries may come across as being really focused on the self and whatnot. There's a reason why they may block off everyone, because they have such a strong intention. But at the same time, when they're working with a group of people on a project or a goal, they're doing it also for the well-being, for that project. They want to make sure everyone's covered. If they're making a building, they want to make sure everything is supported well, and that the people that are working with them know their skills. So the Aries here for the Three of Wands, he or she is actually finding someone almost like-minded like them. Energy has that same excitement towards working towards a successful outcome. The values, they want to work with people who have similar values in completing a goal. It's very important. And the thing I wanted to point out, I'm sorry, I broke right into you, Julianne Victoria.
No, that's okay.
Because I love the wands. This was just a wonderful read for me to go through. There was something that I saw here. Yes, I think you may have read this. The circular shape of the serpent also suggests motion, action, and space.
Yeah, I didn't read it yet, but I talked about it.
The circular shape of the serpent. Oh, I already read that. Let me reread this again. I'm sorry. The circular shape of the serpent also suggests motion and action. Now that we have moved beyond the doubts and hesitations of the deuce. Okay. I highlighted so much, the highlights were bleeding into the next sentence. So it's like, wait a second. So it's the constant movement. We're now extending from the Two of Wands into the Three of Wands. We're now making that constant movement. But what I loved about this is that use of motion and action and space is what the divine will is initiating. It's what the will is, how the will is using the motion, How and what kind of action? Is the action very fast? Is it very aggressive? Is it pace like? Because Aries can still be direct, but they have a plan. It's more focused. And then the space. What environment are they in? How are they using the influence of that environment to put that energy and also the time as well into what they're doing?
And that kind of gets to the reverse, right? So Mars in Cancer is the astrological debilitation. And just one little thing she wrote here, idle hands are the devil's playground.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's like too much energy and not enough to do in the reverse. Or not focusing one's energy on what needs to get done and thinking, okay, idle hands.
Like it's gonna start on its own, and it isn't.
Right. Yeah. It's not. Things won't continue on its own. Not getting things done doesn't get them done. You have nothing to do. Nowhere to channel your fire, your creativity. You can get yourself into trouble, basically.
But this is Mars in Cancer, is it not?
Yeah.
Mars okay.
Is the reversal, the debilitation. Yeah. Yeah, I felt that summed up the reversal. Like,
there's something here that she wrote, and we'll keep going because I know we're eating up a lot of time. We tend to when we first get started because we get so involved.
Like, okay.
Yeah. She writes here, what we want and are all seeking is a cause or a movement that is spiritually significant and deeply inspiring enough to give us energy when the problems of the world start to overcome us. That's beautiful as well. We're looking for that inspiration.
Read the book. We could just do the book on audio.
Because it's hard to put what she writes into words. I mean, the way Christine writes this book, it's just like, you can have a wall full of posters with her mottos and bumper stickers and T-shirts with some of the stuff that she has to say. It's amazing. Okay.
Let's move on to the fourth. All right.
We can do 5 minutes. You want? If we can. 8 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay. 4 of Wands. So now we're into the Leo decan. So 4, 5, and 6 will be the 3 decans of Leo, but they're not in order. The order is 6, 4, 5. So we start with the 4, the second decan of Leo. So 11 to 20 degrees. Second decan is ruled by Jupiter because Sagittarius is the second sign from Leo, which is ruled by Jupiter. And the essential dignity is the upright complement. So Sun in Capricorn, because Capricorn is the opposite sign to Cancer. So the Sun and Moon in traditional astrology, which this uses, are the only 2 planets, quote unquote planets, that rule one sign. So they're paired together.
Got it.
Reverse detriment is Sun in Aquarius because Aquarius is the sign opposite of Leo. Okay. What did I mark in here? Oh, I think I also found a typo. I was like, oh, a typo.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Because something doesn't make sense there, but I think, yeah. Anyway, the number 4. The number 4 makes an esoteric reference to the cube of matter seen in alchemical art as the throne of the emperor. Whatever is created at this stage, whether success or failure, will endure for a long time to come. And I thought that was very, very powerful way of saying this. And that's the Jupiter ruling this decan's expansive energy. Plus any Leo associated thing, because Leo is ruled by the sun, the sun, just eternal light. Yes. This is true for all the 4s, but nowhere is this more literally applied than in the 4 of Wands. Think of all the 100 years standing Masonic halls, the fraternal society buildings that appear in every city in America. People who created those wonderful multi-function meeting halls and theaters handed off a gift that keeps on giving to future generations the builders would never know. With love and preservation, such public treasures provide sanctuary and service and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, when you're in this energy, when you're in this expansive Jupiter energy of bright, sunshiny Leo, like things will sustain. When you're creating in this state, it will sustain and will expand, you know, beyond your imagination. Yeah. So
it's beautiful.
And I love like the rose.
Yes.
You know, the rose stained glass windows and lots of those halls and the churches, you know, those massive, beautiful stone churches built by Masons. It's just strong structure, sustained, expansive structure. Yeah.
I mean, it's the quality that they put in, you know, based on their knowledge, as being, you know, Freemasons. It's just, it's amazing. And it's sad because there are quite a few of these buildings now that are not being used. So even before the pandemic. So it's,
but
you know,
structurally they can be reused at some point, right?
Yes, of course. They're multifunctional, like she stated.
So I really like this energy. There wasn't a whole lot I wanted to say about it, because it's just that 4 energy is so strong. And it's, you know, traditionally this is, you know, in the RWS, it's a
celebratory
card of celebration and completion and graduation and all those things. And that, in a sense, you know, something continues on from what you did before. It's not completion, done and gone, whoop, all out there. It's like you build upon this foundation. But here it's like the building and expansion is even, I'll just do this right outside next to you. Yeah. And there isn't some of the like sort of completion energy here. It's like this is a stage that you just build upon.
Correct. Yeah. And also the crossing of the wands. It becomes a protective force. And it looks like the wands are crossed right in front of the rose and the sun to show this energy that it's showing respect.
And it's not really Xing it out. It's sort of like, it's almost supporting. Looks like it's supporting it.
It is. It's like its way of like, we thank you so much. You know, we got you protected. And, you know, we respect the energy that you've been guiding us with. There's some things you've already touched upon. The community collective. Here too, we're extending from the 3 of Wands into the 4 of Wands. We're still having that group energy, the community that's been put together to work towards either rebuilding or creating. And here we're seeing the results because of choices that were made, like-mindedness. People are on the same page and they have that excitement because they're starting to see the results. They're starting to see, yes, this is starting to work. This is starting to go to the next stage. And so there's that creative excitement that we get with the wands, and also the excitement that the collective labor is seeing from, it's like the fruits of their labor. It's like, okay, this is wonderful. And also one thing that I found interesting, I think this is related to, I wrote down Jupiter and Leo, is I'm trying to watch how I say this, is it's a detachment of the ego. Leos are known that, and also Aries, I guess most of the fire signs have some bit of an ego issue of some sort, but it's actually removing yourself, like it's not about me, it's about everyone else. And
well, that's the the upright, or well, actually that's the detriment.
Is it Jupiter, and isn't it Jupiter?
The detriment reversed is Sun in Aquarius.
Okay.
Which is, so Sun in Aquarius is, you know, shining your light for everyone else, right? For the good of others. But it doesn't really have a negative, like looking at the card, and reversals don't necessarily have a negative meaning or a negative connotation to them. They don't have to at all. It can mean many things. And what I'm feeling here with the reversal is like the focus moves to the rose versus in the upright, the sun, like one's own light, one's individual light is supporting what is being created. Where in the reverse, it's like, you know, the rose petals, the focus is on the community or the collective.
Okay. Huh.
So it's not that the upright is like selfish, but it's like, okay, what are my personal goals? What do I want to, what foundation do I have now that I want to expand and build upon? Whereas the reversal with that Aquarius energy is maybe it's personal foundations you built, maybe it's collective foundations you built, but it goes from more of a personal desire to, you know, rose energy, a more compassionate one. But what, I can't remember what she says about it.
It's completely different from the way you interpret it. And the way you interpret it is wonderful, because here you're using the pictorial influence of it. And here she's going more into the meaning. I think it's on 152, Julianne.
Yeah, I see it.
Where you see it. Go ahead,
really
you can read it.
Here. I'm sweating. So like, it's been really warm lately. Yeah, so here she says, Saturn, you know, Leo's midsummer energies are vigorous, but are seldom analytic or strategic. Leo styles to offer up charismatic leader and position him for visibility to rally workers. But Aquarius is the radical egalitarian, you got it, view that critiques the cult of personality, and nips any jockeying for ego acclaim in the bud. Now, it's not to say that ego acclaim is bad. That's just your personal goals, aspirations, and what you want to accomplish. Whether this becomes a problem or not depends on the human personalities who have come together to fulfill the plan. So, yeah.
That's interesting.
The last sentence is, selflessness is what's required here and a motive to serve true human needs. But that can come out in either way. Like, is it human needs for everyone else, or these are my goals, these are my human needs?
It
which
sounds
doesn't
like
something on anyone.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it sounds, no, it's okay. It sounds like Aquarius is trying to like is trying to get control of Leo's ego, if that's what's going on at that time. It's like, no, it's not about you. Let's remember about the, like I was saying earlier, about the community. Ego versus selflessness. And that's coming from the Aquarius perspective. That's what I took here. So my interpretation, I think here with the Four of Wands, it's following, leaning a little bit more with what she interpreted it, as opposed to the way, I loved the way you said that about the rose, because I didn't even see that.
I think
the
it's
beauty,
just
the
astrologer looking at that Aquarius energy. I mean, I feel like she's presented sort of like the negative side of Aquarius, where it's like, in a way, it forces people to give up their power and who they are and their uniqueness. It's like, it becomes almost like too much conformity.
Okay. I see that.
All the same.
Yeah.
There's like, okay, yeah, everyone's absolutely equal. But if everyone's absolutely equal in every respect, the individual is completely gone.
Yeah,
so that's a far extreme of Aquarius energy. Yeah. So and then of course in a reading, it's all like, it's going to be all over the place.
That's what I took from here. With, because not ego, Aquarius is air, and they're fixed, and so is Leo. So we have these two challenges of their characteristics that one's going to have to give, and so who's it going to be? And
that's the dynamic of opposing sign energies. They're similar, yet different, and they're thought of as, the word opposing as opposite, which makes you think they're like butting heads, but really they're supposed to work together, and they can work together beautifully.
Yes.
As long as one isn't opposing the other.
Yeah.
It should come together instead of like this.
Yeah, I agree when it comes to opposites, when it comes to the signs, even if they're both fixed, if they're both mutable, I feel opposites do attract. There's a reason for that. And it's just a matter, and I think those kinds of connections are more exciting because you do have those differences, as opposed to something that's very similar and it becomes just, it goes, but it doesn't go very far. And
like
peters out.
Every Leo has Aquarius in them.
Say that one more time.
Every Leo has Aquarius in them. Every Aquarius has Leo in them. So the same with all opposites. Every Cancer has Capricorn in them. Every Capricorn has Cancer in them. But do they work to balance those two? Someone, again, and in someone's chart, things might show where it's harder to.
Yeah, of course.
But the opposite, they're always, one is not without the other.
Yes. So. They support each other. They balance. Where one is weaker, the other one can support the other, and vice versa.
Yeah, exactly.
It works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shall we move on to the,
yes.
5 minutes. Okay, 5. 5 of Wands. So now we're on to the third decan of Leo, because remember it goes 6, 4, 5 in the decan order. So the third decan of Leo is ruled by Mars, because Aries is the third sign from Leo, and it's ruled by Mars. And the essential dignity is upright exaltation. So Sun in Aries, as I mentioned, Sun is exalted in Aries, and its fall or debilitation is Sun in Libra. I marked several things here. So the first sentence, 5 of Wands has historically represented alchemical gold among continental tarots. And this card is like completely different from this energy. And she talks about that here. She says the 5 of Wands represents a healthy and gradual process of self-cultivation wherein steady attention to the workings of the cosmos results in permanent progress for the evolving soul. So not petty conflict, annoyances. I call this card in RWS my chore card. It's like that comes up. It's like you got to get your chores done. You got to get those annoying things done. This card, completely different energy representation. I did an angled mark, which means this was really interesting. She goes into saying like, wise souls know that consciousness is the true alchemical goal. To achieve it, the dross of daily life must be patiently cooked down and filtered out, which is like, this is the dross of daily life, the RWS 5 of Wands, what I call my chore card. Only after long suffering and challenge do we liberate the true spiritual sun that has been imprisoned within our souls. And so in which, none of this alchemical energy is in this card. And this card, it's like, whoa, there's a lot going on in the 5 of Wands.
There is.
It's alchemy coming together. At the top, and it says opulence.
Yes.
Yeah. And I like that it's a 5 because it's the center. 5s are numbers of change, often considered like chaos and conflict, and not a lot of good things. 5s in many decks like RWS are very challenging. This is challenging, but to produce gold, right? It's like you're deep. It's 5. It's in the middle. You're deep in the process of your fiery, creative alchemical process, and alchemy is a very creative energy. Anything else I wanted to point out here? No, I'll let you take it now.
Okay. Well, it's interesting because when she first starts describing the 5 of Wands, she talks for, I think, almost most of the first page about the alchemy process. She talks about the Philosopher's Stone, which is the conscious state of a evolving awakened soul. And I'm trying to see where I wrote here, or what she wrote that I highlighted to describe the Philosopher's Stone, because I know that's part of the alchemy process. I think the Philosophy Stone is the culmination of the different elements that were put in to produce gold, and getting to that level. So basically, once that is complete, it becomes that conscious state of evolving and the awakened soul. It's I don't know hardly anything about alchemy, but I do like the representations that she does put throughout the cards and explaining the meaning. And of course, gold is part of is the metal for sun. It is a very strong element. It's seen as the highest. It can be seen as the highest level of prestige. You know, with the Olympics, the gold medal is just the top of the line. Good, excellent work. It was shown in the efforts that you put in and in the performance that was shown. It's great. It's opulence. It's a lot of. You're surrounded with a lot of goodness, and also in the card, and this has been mentioned a few times. Each card has the sun and the moon representation of it, and Julianne Victoria and I have mentioned in this deck that there's a lot of balance. We may not see it so much with the planetary placements, but also the energy of the card as well. They're small. They're on top of the pillars, but the pillars are right in between this energy that we have here. That's all written in Latin, is it?
Yeah.
And she doesn't go into the breakdown of the Latin. So that's why when I saw the Latin in the previous card, it's like, let me ask Julianne Victoria what she can take of it.
Because it's collage. I think they took that off of pieces and put it in. So I guess they chose what goes, but it's just terms for alchemy.
Okay. I'm just curious.
I need my magnifying glass. But if I hold it up, I can't see it because I'm holding up. Then it's bigger on screen, so people can see it there.
Yeah, I wish I could.
Most of the cards have some Latin on them because of the ancient art that this is put together from. But I was just thinking about the reversal, so the sun is exalted in Aries, and if you think of Aries as the first sign, Aries is dawn, and you go around.
Yep, rises.
Libra is sunset, so sun is debilitated in Libra, and when the sun sets, and you can see that as quiet time to rest, time to let your alchemical process simmer. There's our simmering again. Simmer, sit. Maybe it needs to recoagulate, whatever it is. It again, reversals don't necessarily mean the bad or the negative of the energy, though they can. What does she say here on the reversal? A fine line exists between demonstrating personal excellence and making others feel like failures. Because Libra is the relationship sign.
Correct.
Who really benefits when we all fight so hard for such small rewards? It says, but don't lower yourself to the world. I'm skipping around to the worldview. Your motives center on being being the best you can be, which is Sun and Aries energy, and spend your time working on your own plans and goals. That way, you'll minimize the number of egos bruised along the way, lest your successes be celebrated alone. So don't, the reversal would be don't drive everyone away. Don't be like, Sun and Aries, look how grand I am. I'm great. I'm the best. Aries likes to be the best. It's number one. and stomp on everyone else. You can be proud of what you do. You can shine your light and shine your creativity. Don't forget to shine that, acknowledge others for it and not step on people along the way.
Yes.
And that's where ego gets into that negative energy. And I feel like people just make the term ego all negative, and it's like, no, like you would not be an individual human being had you not had an ego and you expressed yourself and who you are by your name and your identity. It's quite positive, and I feel like the negative is just what most people focus on, so I always point that out. But even the word opulence on here can have a negative connotation, like, oh, that's so opulent.
That could be, that's where the ego comes in.
Like, it's only when it gets inflated, right? Yes. It gets inflated on things, and it's like, I'm the best, and yours is no good, or whatever. But instead, oh, I did really well. Oh, great, I did a good job. Oh, you did a good job too. You don't step on other people's toes along the way. That's that conflict, right? Yes. That childish, immature, ego-inflated conflict. It's the emotional 2-year-old or 3-year-old, which I'm well aware of right now. I'm a 3-year-old, for those who are wondering. Yeah. So I really like this 5 of Wands. It was a very different perspective on it, different take on it, completely different from how I read this one and many other 5 of Wands. And yeah, it's very empowering. Just even looking at this image, it's like, you just want to sit and explore it and take out the magnifying glass and look at details you can't really see.
It's overwhelming. There's, like you said, there's a lot. Yes, yeah, definitely. There's a lot going on, and we have the alchemical symbol. I'm going to see how close this can get. Yeah, where you can see, I believe that's Mercury, and I believe that's a symbol for fire. Yeah, and that's the Libra aspect of Mercury and the yellow.
Yeah, it's not focusing. Maybe I'll do it. It's not focusing.
Oh, it's not focusing.
No.
Looks good there. Perfect. Yeah.
We want to see.
What's interesting too is the symbol, the alchemical symbol for fire. It's placed in a red background, but the symbol itself is green. I'm sorry?
Is that sulfur? It's not. That's not fire. That's.
Oh, I can't. Sulfur? Is there a circle at the bottom?
There's
a circle at the bottom. Okay, that's right.
Cross. Yeah, I'm holding it really close. Can you see it?
Yeah, I see it there. It's very tiny.
Yeah. So like you can explore the symbols on these cards for a long, long time. It's hot. Okay.
Oh, go and open a window.
Oh, it is open. It's just
okay.
I'm gonna tie this up if I can. Okay, so let's move on to the 6 of Wands. So now we're at the first decan of Leo, ruled by the sun, because the sun rules Leo. The upright domicile is Sun in Leo, and then the reverse similar is Sun in Cancer. So Leo and Cancer are going to complement each other as a pairing.
Yes.
Let's see, one section. The path to self-development, which you could say this card is very much about, leads through service to the community. Even the highest lord and lady of the land largely function as the head servants of the realm. There is no escaping it. We all must contribute from the heart to keep the wheels of state on track. And this kind of goes back to where like Leo and Aquarius energies complement each other. So like Leo is the sign of royalty, like kings and queens. And it's like, okay, do they have inflated egos? And they're like, oh, I'm the great king and queen. You all serve me and give me things. Or like, oh, I'm the great king and queen. I am the servant to all these people, and I must take care of all these people and the land and all of this.
Yeah,
And usually it's somewhere in between there, right?
Yes.
Which is really like, so the Leo energy is often very compassionate and very caring, but it's, as long as it doesn't get to their head, right? But there's, this is all Leo sun energy, and Six of Wands is a, RWS is it's a card of success and recognition and greatness. He's being praised by the crowd, and he's got the laurel, he's got a wreath on his wand and on his head. It's like, this could be the king they're all praising. Like, it's quite positive. It's great. Everyone loves when this card comes up. But I guess the reversal would be like, yeah, does it get to his head?
Yeah, I just flip it around.
It's not going to get to his head. Did I mark anything else there? I didn't mark anything else because I think I was at this point where I'm going to mark the whole thing. But like the reversed card, Sun in Cancer, suggests an alternate path for those who don't see themselves as herd animals, content to remain perpetual children, dependent upon the forceful and controlling lion for their safety and well-being. This alternative option is signified by the austere but noble life of the eagle. So this is the eagle in the card, who can seize a solitary freedom in the Empyrean, or the empire. Thus, the raptor symbolizes our ability to resist the bindings of collective expectations, even if enhanced status might result. So the reversal is in a way, some people, like, it may come up as like, exert your individuality. Don't be dependent on the lion or the king or queen or royalty or above. It kind of suggests, like, we're all regal in our own ways. So resisting the bindings of collective expectations and expressing your individuality. And that's just one way to look at reversal.
It's the reversals on some of the cards here. I have to read a few times.
I know. I was thinking, I was like, oh, I need to read it again. But on the left. Go ahead.
It's, remember when we were talking beforehand, I was saying when we got towards the end of the wands, I found myself, and this is interesting, I found myself highlighting less. And I think I was starting to feel at this point, probably from the 5 onward, and that's why I've gotten a little bit more quieter, is the direction of this energy. And now as it's starting to build up towards its conclusion, or to its outcome, potential outcome, it starts becoming complicated, because the first aces through 5, we see that building, we understand that. But then now, since we're getting towards the end, there's more involved. I mean, look at that 5 card. There's just so much that was involved in the process. Yes, and this one as well. The thing that's interesting here is the way that she describes this card is she sees and you touched upon this, she sees the relationship between the lion, the ego, the collective, while the eagle is seen as wisdom, freedom, and the individual. And so it's sort of the struggle between taking that energy and working with it from the lion's side, and working with everyone else, but also trying to establish their own individuality. I think this is the relationship of a person who's working in an environment that is in the realm of the sun in Leo, and wanting to, this could be the conflict. Maybe the ego could, it's not necessarily Cancer, but it's trying to separate itself. Yeah, in a sense.
Well, she says here, whether upright or reversed, 6 of Wands. 6
what
of
page?
Wands, 160.
Okay.
At the top, Six of Wands highlights the sun's responsibilities in the signs he co-rules with the moon, Leo and Cancer. When the sun is in his own sign of Leo, he pours himself out selflessly to the people, increasing the well-being of the collective organism. Now, that's a really healthy Leo energy, right?
Yes.
Sol, or the sun, centers the planets as the first among equals, and those who cooperate with him will prosper. While in Cancer, on the other hand, Sol, it's funny how she switched from sun to Sol. Sol turns inward to the private sphere, where he is husband of the moon and or the student of Sophia. If this association is fertile, there will be projects to complete and young lives to nurture away from the milling throngs. Again, this is like the opposite together. Here, Sol takes his turn as last among equals, sheepdogging the family parade to ensure that everything wraps up and turns out as planned. Yeah, and then she goes more into it.
So the Cancer takes more of the emotional aspect of what Leo is doing more on the external side. So
because I kind of feel like this card, like there isn't, like the reversal isn't is great. It's just almost just as great.
It is, isn't it?
It's an expression of the need to express one's individuality.
Yeah, you're correct about that. I don't even flip the cards around when I'm studying the book, and now since you started doing this, I do every now and then. But I mean, you can read the card if you cut it in half.
Yeah, and like the eye.
Yes, the eye's on the top and the bottom.
The eye and the
and the sun and the moon. Do you see that?
Yeah,
that's amazing.
So I mean, this is what we did. This with some other card, like you could read it sideways.
Yes.
Right.
So it points.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
She points out it is necessary to think deeply about your priorities because the demands of the collective good, the lion, seem to be competing with the needs of our private individuality, the eagle. It's like I have to read that again. I'm not going to read it again, but it's just like you really think about that.
Yeah. So it's a card of great responsibility.
It is. Yeah.
And again,
but
that's
also
really healthy Leo energy. Well, sun in Leo is, healthy sun your soul, shining through the Leo energy. Yeah. And it's like, so in RWS, Six of Wands is Jupiter in Leo, which brings in more of that, like, oh, I'm so great. Look what I did. Success and growth and expansion from that. There's not really any humility here, humbleness.
It's pride.
It's like, be proud of your successes, but this takes it a step further in Tarot of the Holy Light.
Yeah. It's more the relationship, how that individual, how that Leo, whether it's Jupiter, well, in this card, it's Sun in Leo.
Sun in Leo, because then it can fully connect to those opposite Aquarian energies.
Yes.
The relationship of the collective.
And that's where the eagle comes in.
Yeah. Okay.
It gets deep.
Yeah.
You start reflecting a little bit more.
It's like after these, I'm like, it's like so much. I'm like, I need to like. Okay, Seven of Wands. Let's move on. Time is.
We're almost
slow.
there.
Okay, so now we're into the Sagittarius decans, and again, the order is it's like the last grouping. It goes 9, 7, 8. So we start with the second decan of Sagittarius, ruled by Mars, because Aries is the second sign, fire sign from Sagittarius. Okay. So the upright complement is Jupiter in Virgo, and the reverse detriment is Jupiter in Gemini. So
fire, air.
Yeah. Lost my train of thought there because I heard my daughter talking. Sorry. But anyway, so here it says, whenever the Seven of Wands appears, so this is, we got the fire is full. Oh, I wanted to say, like, as you were saying, like, we both kind of took less notes and marked less things as the fires continued on. It's like, I was thinking, it's like a fire building. It starts as like the little, like, spark in the ace, and it builds and builds and builds and it grows. And then it's like this big wildfire, and it's so complicated. It's like burning this way and jumping freeways and burning that way, and like calms down here and smolders there. Like gets more complicated.
It
right?
does. And that's throughout the suits when you really look at them.
Yeah.
After from 5 onward, it
Mhm.
gets, people tend to focus, and I see this a little bit more on social media, they tend to focus on the first 5 cards, and we don't hear too much about the cards afterwards. I just see it every now and then, and it's like,
Well, they get
no.
heavier. They get
Yeah, because we're getting towards a completion. We're getting towards,
and really, like each number includes all the previous ones.
Yes,
So
because the way they add up.
Energy, yeah. So whenever the Seven of Wands appears, you are being challenged to compete with yourself and strive for a personal best. Winning your way through any past self-esteem blocks or inhibitions you will consciously harbor. You still consciously harbor. So just to compare the RWS, you know, we think of this as like fighting off others, and here it's more like, but what is it within yourself you need to battle to move onwards? Yeah. And just at the end, like just part of the reverse, beware of creeping smugness that can appear with this card. Having unique gifts or being lucky, I mean, we kind of have touched on this already, right? Because it all builds. Having unique gifts or being lucky enough to arrive at the right place at the right time does not make you invincible, nor do they indemnify you against thought errors. Remember that there is always somebody smarter, better looking, craftier, and more talented than you who would be glad to steal that victory from your unprepared hands. Don't waste this opportunity in the pursuit of trivialities that only serve your momentary whims. Seek out real accomplishments that have the potential to make a difference for the betterment of people's lives in the future.
That relates to what you were saying earlier.
You, but at the same time, you want to achieve your personal best.
Yes. That relates entirely what you were saying earlier about going to your goals and second guessing yourself.
Yeah.
And so when I read this, funny enough, I was thinking about you because we had talked about some of the projects you were working on. And it's like, you know what? I think when Julianne reads this, I think she'll trigger something for her.
This was like very fitting. Well, you can think of like, you know, we can get caught up in the illusion or project out our doubts or insecurities or whatever it may be. But really it's ourselves, and we have to fight our own fire retardants. But keep the fire under control at the same time. Yeah.
It's
we want to be like, you know, if we, you know, that reversed energy.
Well, that's where Jupiter and Virgo comes in. Virgo puts, again, it's like, okay, this energy is all over the place. It's looking at it, it's analyzing. It's like, how can I make this?
Yeah, Virgo will try to get back under control.
Yeah. You know, and it's just like, okay, what can we do? What energy can we put in? This is going to be a little intense, so I'm going to read it very slowly. This is about Jupiter in Virgo, its influence for this card. Hence, Virgo comes into focus as provider of a precise methodology that will systemically deliver the fulfillment of our aspirations. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Virgo's concerns are for steady nourishment and attentive care, maintaining the web of life, including, I'll just throw it in here because including the flora, fauna of the gut and digestive system, through prolonged and patient attention to detail. So we see those influences of Virgo's Earth for putting things into a stability, but using the mind, using the analytical aspect of seeing things, and like it's stated here, prolonged and patient attention to detail.
Yeah.
Virgos, I would say, are probably the more patient out of all the earth signs because they are focused and they can't rush into anything. They don't like that kind of energy. They need to really spend that time, and they use the mind to put things into balance.
Funny, I wouldn't say Virgo is patient energy, but it will persist.
Really? You don't think they're patient?
I know have a lot of Virgo, and it's mutable, and they can like all over the place. And so they can really beat themselves up because it interferes with their desire to be persistent and do something to perfection.
Ah, yeah.
But there can be that patient energy, definitely.
But it's that struggle to attain it's what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. So I always think of like my brother's a triple Virgo. So it's just like, like it changes. Like he gets upset about something, he won't remember it because he changes his mood.
Do you call him on it?
No, because he would get upset.
Fair enough. That's as far as we'll go.
He's too meticulous. Okay, yeah. So yeah.
How about the reverse?
So just
you said about the smugness, correct?
Yeah, the smugness, and yeah, it's like reverse, and you go up in flames, like those flames devour all those wands in the reverse. So
yeah, I got it for you.
Yeah. So yeah. Be you, strive for your best. Don't be smug. Don't burn yourself out, basically. Yeah.
I'm looking here really quickly. A tremendous amount of a tremendous amount of practice time and self-discipline will have to be expended to equip the individual with the necessary skill, strategy, and sheer guts required to challenge the present obstacle. The Seven of Wands reversed hints that if we have come to this path thinking we are prepared, but still we fail to pass through freely, it is likely we have allowed our limitations to overtop our will instead of the other way around. So basically letting our weaknesses take control.
Yeah.
And just, it just smothers the energy of what was the energy that we were going towards our intention. Trying to see here. Yeah, it's the energy slowing down here. Because it's building up to that intensity.
Yeah. And then we get the Eight of Wands.
Yes.
So
Eight of Wands.
Eight of Wands, so the second decan of Sagittarius, ruled by the sun, the third decan of Sagittarius ruled by the sun, because Leo is the third fire sign from Sagittarius. Upright exaltation, Jupiter in Cancer, where he's exalted. Reversed fall or debilitation, Jupiter in Capricorn. So we think of Eight of Wands as the card of swiftness and things moving quickly, and it has that energy. The pace is picking up. Thing I marked here is, so it starts out, the truth is personal consciousness is increased by the presence of pain and suffering. There is no other way. Because we think of this as like easy breezy, great things moving along, piece of cake. We have to become dissatisfied with things as we find them before we will make necessary moves to improve our lot or our fate, right? Assume that when you see the Eight of Wands in a spread, it will be necessary to leap into action. So it's our swiftness, right? To respond properly in the moment. No half measures will do. Nice way of saying don't half-ass things. And then for the reversal, so she says Capricorn's more melancholic temperament, which has the power to freeze things in place for a while, and that's because Capricorn in the northern hemisphere really is the winter. An out of season cold and wet spell can lower the danger level temporarily. so it can temper some of the fires that maybe if needed, but it also puts a damper on Jupiter's spirits.
Yeah.
She wrote, quashing his enthusiastic dream of hot fun in the summertime, which is Jupiter in Cancer, so his exaltation. An inclement period might seem endless while we long for a break in the clouds. But until this setback is taken advantage of to put order back into the verging chaos of overgrowth, so that's Jupiter's excess.
Yeah.
Negative side is excess, overgrowth, which can happen in exaltation. Jupiter's fond fantasy of abundance and security will remain a far-off dream. So this is saying like grow, expand, take action, jump on it, don't delay, but don't overdo it at the same time. You want to keep going. You want to keep that fire going. And you can like see in the card here, like it's almost like the sun is like adding more fire, more fire to the fire.
That's if you're allowing it. If you want that.
Yeah. But don't let it, it's almost saying like, know when to take a break and recharge your fires in the reverse. So know when to take a break.
It's almost like
I just want to point out, like at the reverse picture, it's like, it's almost like the fire can burn out your sun. And you don't want that.
Yeah, I see it because of the placement of the flames and where the fire, that solar aspect is. And
then, there's the caduceus, which implies, take care of yourself, self-care.
Yeah. And also looking at the Eight of Wands here in this card, they're off to the side. There's no movement going on. So there's a different kind of energy. And like you were saying, this, and I like the placement of this because it's momentarily telling you to halt this energy and work with what's really going on right now until you move forward. There is probably a lot going on. And you have to make some choices. And if you don't, these swords will go against you and they will go right into you. And that will just basically destroy the whole premise of what you were working towards. So this is a card of excessive energy and also how to handle it with these influences of Jupiter and Cancer, which I think it's interesting because I would figure Jupiter and Cancer would be more of the opposite, as opposed to, I would feel Jupiter and Capricorn would be more exalted, and Jupiter and Cancer being the opposite, that it would be detriment.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would make sense astrologically in relation to this card.
Jupiter's placement in a sign Saturn's rules can be challenging either way.
Okay.
But remember, this is based on traditional astrology, and Jupiter also rules Pisces, so he's really good with water.
Yes.
I normally I think of Jupiter as very watery.
For a fiery planet.
Blue with Jupiter, though often it's like yellow or orange because of the fire and Sagittarius energy. So yeah, but that's, the exaltations and debilitations have been in place for, I don't know, hundreds, thousands of years, maybe. Mm-hmm. But I'm actually like, someday, if I can, when I have time to do all the things I really want to look into, I want to kind of figure out where that started, because it's the same in Vedic astrology, so it's very old.
They share the same placements?
The same exaltation and debilitation. Yeah. So, there are reasons for it, but it's like, is there a known source? Because it's well known, and it is based on the traditional placements, and or before Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto were discovered and included in astrology. So I find it very interesting. But that's one of, and go ahead. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent.
Well, I was just going to say that's one thing I wanted to point out, and thanks for mentioning it. That with the Tarot of the Holy Light, it's only the traditional planets that are talked about. So there won't be any Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto. We'll only go up to Saturn, and that's it. Because I can only imagine how she would go on with these other 3 planets in this deck.
Yeah.
But you can also relate those, Pluto to Mars.
The astrology associations were originally done like with Golden Dawn. They didn't include Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto because Pluto had not yet been discovered. I think Neptune
Pluto was, I think Pluto was 19.
20s.
Yeah.
Something like that. So they wouldn't have had that. So like in their major system, they don't have the full Hangman and Judgment don't have a planetary ruler or a sign, right? They just have the element, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's another tangent there.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's go to the 9s. Yeah, I think with this card, it's just basically how to deal with this excessive energy.
This growing and mounting energy, or this building wildfire. Yeah, and like keeping it in a productive direction, but knowing when to temper it and take a break and rest, so that it can then continue to keep burning.
Yeah, I would say the 8 of Wands throughout any tarot deck is just take a moment. Because you're going to there's something that's up ahead that's going to determine the outcome. Please be mindful of what you're going to do from this point onward. That's
but also don't procrastinate. You still need to take action.
I know.
Even if your action is to rest.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 9 of Wands. So now we're in the first decan of Sagittarius. So ruled by Jupiter, because Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. Upright domicile, Jupiter in Sagittarius. Reverse similar, Jupiter in Pisces, so the other sign that Jupiter rules. Here, so this is the RWS symbol. And I liked what she wrote here. The 9 of Wands is often used to indicate a need for a timeout in the midst of high stakes and high intensity environments. None of us is made of stone. We can only handle so much stress before we need to hide out from the fray, mend our wounds, which you can see here, restore our vital forces. And that's sort of expanding on what we just said with the 8, like knowing when to let the winter come, basically. An event of the scale of dwarves is an event of the scale that dwarfs mere individuals is happening right now. Don't personalize this. This is no advantage to be gained from continuing any longer in flight or fight mode. And then I also pointed out, so for the reversal, Piscean energies are vulnerable, sensitive, delicate, and easily traumatized. So the reversal here. We might have let our guard down prematurely, or we might have entertained the enemy unawares. And this is sort of the Piscean boundary stuff. Adverse circumstances can leave us too exhausted to be effective in calculating our next moves, too rattled to accept help, or even see an avenue of retreat. At this point, one is running low on resources for rising to the occasion, and our decisions will not be the best. So it's sort of like, okay, our volcanoes have been going off. Maybe we exploded too much in the reversal. And again, it's like that message, even though the fire is building and mounting, we're up to the 9. It's Jupiter in all his expansive glory in the decan, in the sign. Again, it's like, don't expand beyond your capabilities. If you do, back off, take a break, recharge, self-care, get things back in order, and then, when you're ready, expand in all your glory even more.
Also,
explode your greatness.
And also between the 8 and 9, those swords are still off to the side. So we're seeing at this state with the 9, we're still seeing we're still working through this transition of all this energy but we're putting it to a side. This is the next step. Also, you mentioned about Pisces. You don't want to be vulnerable, and we see the where are they?
Oh, the animals.
The goat, yeah,
Goat and the wolf at the bottom.
And the wolf, yes.
They're a little hard to see. It's not super. I'm trying to get it close on camera.
Yeah, it's there. It's right below the blue flower if anyone's looking. They're putting aside their differences because this is a time of survival. I'm going now to the imagery that I see in the cards. And, they're making a choice. Do they want to run from this, or do they want to stay and be protected and continue to see what's going to wait ahead for each of them in their own way? And also the flowers that we have here, it's still giving the indication that you're still going on your intention. It's still there. It's not like the flowers have withered or that they're not there anymore. That potential is still there. It's still waiting for you. So also look at the surroundings of where you are with this card in particular. I wrote something here. I can't remember. Weakened energy allows forfeit to the circumstances. Weakened energy allows forfeit.
Don't you love that when you're like, why did I write that note?
Yeah, I wrote that. I wrote it right in the paragraph because I think I was trying to decipher.
Okay.
Even if you'll have to endure, here we go. Even if you'll have to endure a loss of prestige and personal pride. Okay, so here we go a little bit with the ego. Remember that a punch-drunk and addled fighter cannot be an asset to his or her cause. So it's like you'll take that loss, you'll take that risk, that energy. It's almost like succumbing. Actually, just don't push ahead. Just reel yourself back. Let whatever happens. Because if you go ahead, if you make that wrong choice, it could go against you.
Right. Like the fire in motion.
Yeah.
The volcano is already erupting.
Everything's there.
Act accordingly.
Yes. Beware, caution. I think that's another thing too. Caution. This card is a little about caution, about proceeding ahead. It's not telling you to stop. It's just, telling you to be aware of what's going to happen if you do make a different move. Moving away from stress. You don't want anything that's going to aggravate the situation any further if there is aggravation.
Right.
Accept a loss. This is what I wrote. Accept a loss to avoid any further harm. That's what I got from. That's what I wrote towards the end.
And she wrote here, don't accept any invitations that will put you in harm's way.
That's where I sort of twisted it. Okay, here we go. 10.
So now our last card, the 10. So the 10s again in this deck are just the elemental representation. So 10 of Wands is just fire. Here she writes Grand Trine of Fire, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. And it's just all about fire. Now it's interesting because we have the snake. It's hard to tell in the image, but in the book she says, the snake is sacrificed on the cross.
Yeah.
Which was very interesting. One thing I marked here. This is in the serpent energy. There was a sect of Gnostics existing both outside of early Christianity and within it, who believed that the Serpent of Genesis was a messenger from divine Sophia, God's wisdom or Logos, sent to give fallen Adam and Eve the saving knowledge of their eternal origin and destiny. And so here we have the sacrificed messenger of knowledge.
Sophia.
Yeah, sacrificed on the cross or the T. And then she goes on, in light of the above, the Ten of Wands represents an all-out sacrifice and ultimate commitment to a sacred trust that demands everything you have to give. So this card is really about giving it your all. It's a huge responsibility, it's a huge burden, which is like the RWS meaning here. But it's give it your all. You're at this point. You've reached the energy 10. You've built this creative fire. You've built up this energy. You've had successes along the way. You figured out, I can't burn myself out. You need to give them a little more, the sacrifice. You need to make an offering. But it's like, this is the ultimate accomplishment energy, basically. And then in the reverse says, if instead the Ten of Wands should appear reversed, one might be tempted to say, this is a lost cause, give up. It's like when you're so close to the end and you've put so much into it and you have not yet seen all the results you want and you're getting tired, you're getting tired. It's like, and here, don't give up now. You're almost there.
Yeah.
Those whose courage is ebbing might consider this a sign of failure, but the card itself would beg to differ. The significance of the blue serpent in the background now comes to the fore. Unlike the still living red serpent pulsing and panting on its cross, the blue serpent is a fossil, long dead, but still preserving the shape and attitude of the final sacrifice. Like a statue of a saint or an illusion in a book of myths, this serpent mutely testifies to the motivating power of spiritual inspiration, even absent a current living exemplar. That's a weird sentence, but we'll go with it.
I know you have to read it again. It's like, what?
Well, it's like this, this is like reminders. Okay, this is what you've sacrificed to give here. There's more, but it's the, it's the 10. It's the ultimate. It's the culmination.
Yeah, there's gonna be more waiting ahead, but this is where you are at this point.
Yeah.
And I thought you were going to read this as you were reading from the book. The idea for which it died is still potent and transformative, even when it is hidden and dormant within the vault of the collective unconsciousness. So even though you've reached to that level with your goal, you're completely exhausted. The idea is there. The idea hasn't died. What we're seeing here is more like what maybe the internal is feeling. It's like, I can't go anymore. But there are these signs that are there to show that there is more to be done. The idea hasn't died. It's just your energy and feeling how much work you've put into it. Yes, it's a lot of work. Yes, it's labor. But anyone who has a lot of fire sign or fire energy or relates to Wands energy, this is understood. This should be understood naturally. It's almost inherent with people who have fire signs. They know they have to work hard. There's that drive. There's that motivation to keep going. Also, what's been pointed out throughout this particular suit is, again, how to work with that energy and not to burn yourself out. That's very important.
Wow.
With the swords, overthinking, burning your mind out. Earth, pentacles, maybe spending too much, I don't know, or also working too much in that sense, and sacrificing your own well-being just to survive. And water, emotionally, just don't overextend yourself. So it's the 10 of Wands is just that reminder.
And this kind of is taking me back to that 2 of Wands, where it's like, if it were easy, everyone would do it. Yeah, if you want to accomplish great things, you have to make some sacrifices along the way. And you can see this as like a little sacrifice, and now there's seems like a bigger one. Not sacrifice in a way that hinders you, but it's like you have to put the blood, sweat, and tears into it.
Yeah,
it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, and that's to be understood, and also it's taking that responsibility and that commitment with the Ten of Wands, because that's what you did when you first started this journey.
Taking it on, knowing it's not going to be easy. You know,
and then people are going to be, and then people
see it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then if you start feeling, oh, wow, what did I get myself into? I'm too tired. And other people will be like, you said at the beginning that you were going to do this, all blood, sweat, and tears, like you were saying, no sleep. You were going to go to this to the end. And now you're almost to the end and you want to give up. No. You got to keep going.
That's like the hardest. I think I said this in one of our other videos, like, that, like, so I was a runner, and when you run track, like that second to last lap, the penultimate lap is the hardest, because it's like you're almost there but you're not there, and you're so spent, and you've like you don't know if you have any energy, you don't even know if you're breathing, you're just going and you get to that last lap and you're like, okay, yes, but that second to last lap is so hard, and that's like this. Don't give up. You're right on the edge of getting there.
And then when you look at the wands here, this can also lead to our, here it is. We're back here. Now look at the energy of this card. There's a lot. It's exhaustive. We're seeing a lot of, this poor red serpent. It's panting. It's spent. But then once you've reached that culmination, what Julianne Victoria is holding there, look how clean, look how refreshing that Ace of Wands is. It's you've shed your skin, you've done everything that you have. You take that time out from working so hard, you replenish, and then you start up with the Ace of Wands again. You start on the next step or the next project to continue onward.
And then you start all over again.
Yes. And that's a cycle of life. And that's how the tarot is broken up into. We start over, pull up ourselves by our bootstraps, and we continue onward.
Yeah. So that is the wands.
That is the wands.
That is fiery, intense wands. Yeah.
And I feel it too.
Well, it's like, it's exciting me. It's firing me up. And I'm like, okay.
This is very influential. So
I'm right here on a couple of projects.
That's where you feel right now, Ten of Wands?
Yeah, I'm right there. Not the child, like, just a little bit more, but it's also, the biggest effort, right?
Yeah.
You got to carry all 10 wands. You just have to blood, sweat, and tear it all the way to the end. Not really, not literally, but it's like, okay, it's the biggest part of the task, almost there. It's probably like, this is 10. It's probably going to take this much effort of the one to complete this last stage, right? So, you think, oh, I'm almost there. It should be done really quick. And it's like, no, this is the biggest part. Right. Yes. And then there might be a new level to it that you didn't know was there.
These are all stages that we're seeing. So again, what I was saying earlier is the first few stages with almost all the suits that I look at, but since we're speaking with the wands, I can connect with easily. But once we get to the fives and we go towards the end, you have to look at it from a slower perspective. And I think that's something that I realized so far by looking at this book and the deck entirely. It's like from 5 onward, the energy does change. It does shift. It wants you to be more aware of what you're doing. We got the excitement, or we got the pain that first started off, like the swords.
Energy of the first 5 cards, and then it's like, after that, you can see, because the numbers build, you're carrying more, you're carrying more, you're carrying more, you're carrying more. There's more to do. And that slows you down, right? You have to slow down to focus.
Yeah. But also, too, when the numbers go up, depending on which suit, sometimes I think with the cups or water, those are the healing aspects. You start off on the harder side, And then
Mhm.
you start healing
Right.
after the 5. You get the reverse of it. And the swords, well, that's entirely up to
Sword.
you.
That's the swords.
Just
Yes,
how
the
that
swords are
works. It's different.
the world. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
So
Okay.
2 hours.
Yes. So we went through, this was not so much blood, sweat, and tears, but it's a lot to take
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
So this is
And
the
we barely
last.
touched on anything, I feel like. We barely
No, I
scratched
know.
this.
I know. That's why when Julianne Victoria and I are going to sort out what to tackle next, the minor or the major arcana or the court cards. And so we'll talk about that offline. And but we both have playlists saved up. I'm going to save this so people can view it. And any questions, I'll just go ahead and make this announcement. I know I didn't mention it to you that I was going to do this. I am trying to get Christine Payne Towler to join us to give us more in-depth insight as to how she began the stages of creating the Tarot of the Holy Light and the deck. We are going to keep that conversation probably max 2 hours, if even that. But I'm in the process of speaking with Christine and setting up some time. So that'll be coming up in the future. That'll be very exciting. And maybe, you know what, maybe we could bring another person in, maybe have a 4th person in. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But that's where we are right now. So we just completed the wands from the Tarot of the Holy Light. We will determine where we're going to go next, major arcana or the court cards, and what date we're going to set that to. Maybe if we decide the court cards, maybe we'll fall with the elements. So maybe we'll continue with wands to bring in for the summer months. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. Please support Julianne Victoria. She has a channel that is so informative, and she is a wonderful person, very knowledgeable. I respect her because she is all of that and more. I'm saying that honestly. So there's a lot to learn with Julianne Victoria. She's a hard worker, and I greatly hold great esteem for people like that. Yeah. And she has a lot of projects and she works on it. So that's very influential for me, for people that I like to connect with and work with. I learned from her. And so when she found out I was doing this, or I had this deck, it's like, okay, let's put our resources together and our thoughts and let's do this. So we're going to continue on with this. Thank you for watching, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you again, Julianne Victoria, for joining. Her link is in the description. And from there, she has all the information of what she has to offer, books, decks. Take her astrology, Vedic astrology courses. She's offering so much right now. So take advantage of that. Really appreciate her offering her services to everyone. So that's it. We're signing off. Thank you.
Everyone. Leave questions in the comments below if you're watching this back. Well, even if it takes you a few times to get through the whole thing.
2 hours. I don't think I'm going to timestamp this.
No, take you 2.5 more hours to do it. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Everyone have a wonderful weekend. I will see you soon. Yes, please. Thank you.